Algumas equipes colocaram. Algumas equipes colocaram. Se quiserem, tem água aqui disponível. Já estamos ao vivo no YouTube. Pode All right. I think we can start. So, welcome to the last day of the SDG challenge. It will be great. I hope the week has been great. You know, the week will keep being great after right now. But yes, I'm really excited to see the results of the project. I already know a lot of the results that we have seen that the teams have made great efforts and have achieved very nice proposals. So yes, this will be it. And I think we're going straight forward to the teams. So if anyone has any comment before that, let me know. Otherwise, I will call the first team. So any comments? Any objections? Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I invite Team 1, the MFT Selective Collection, to present the results. Microphone just. Okay, and the entire team. This microphone, you can also use this microphone here. So let's I think no, because you are more people. So. Very.
Can we start?
Yes.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. We are the IoT Selective Collection Group. And thank you. My name is Luisa. This is Mateus, Pedro, Erasmus, Victor, and Thiago. And today we will introduce our project that has started before, and we'll give some introduction on that. We'll talk about our project management, our interviews, prototyping, resolution, and next steps.
Hello. I don't speak English. Should we translate for me? O projeto começou no EPIC, no evento EPIC.
The project started in EPIC in 2020 in Hamburg.
O projeto inicial era produzir sensores para colocar nos containers de vidro que fizemos em parceria com a Green.
The initial proposal of the project was to measure the weight of the materials inside the containers, and by doing that, the goal was to optimize the routes that the truck drivers use to have.
Isso gerou projeto de graduação do Gustavo.
That became the theme of the project, the graduation project of Gustavo.
E a gente tentando entrar ali na linha atualmente.
We've been working with Green on 3 sensors. We tested that and implemented them. And now I'm going to present the project management that we had created during this week. And starting by the justification of our project, we know that the collection process is not at its best. It can be optimized because the trucks travel long and unnecessary routes. So that's spending time, long distances, and emitting more CO2 emissions than they should. And that's why we are creating those sensors that now will have another approach. They won't measure the weight, they will have another technology that we will explain later. But those sensors will be on the containers of Green. And the goal is to have an app that will be used by the truck drivers to make those routes more optimized. And our objective with that is to reduce the CO2 emissions by minimizing the distance that the trucks travel by 20%. Currently, we have a result of 9% with the first pilot project, so we know we can reach that goal. And we have some challenges for doing that. The first is obviously funding and resources, because we need money to do the application, to produce the sensors, and to implement them, and also later to do marketing and educational content. And also we have the communication with external parts challenge, because we have a lot of stakeholders. So we have the UIoT lab that's here at the university. We have Green and the truck drivers that will be working with us in the initial project. Later we can have the SMU and the whole service, public service. And we also have the electrical engineering team and the supervisor from our work, which is Rasmus, and all the production engineering team, which will be composed by PSP2 teams, PSP5, so a lot of people to manage. And we are doing this because we know we can reach a lot of benefits like those here, which we got from the first pilot project. And so that's the minimum we can reach, which is minimizing 1.5 tons of CO2 emissions per year, reducing 9% the distance traveled by the truck drivers, and reducing 17% the time they spend on travels. So we can do better than this. This is just from the first project, but that's why we're doing and considering this project that Gustavo started.
So, in order to develop a product that could fit the workers' demands, we had to do some interviews. We interviewed Gustavo Luz, the former student who built and made the first phase of the project, some truck drivers, and we intend to interview IoT lab of UNB, that unfortunately we couldn't even reach them because they were busy this week. The truck drivers we told us that usually they don't get even close to the maximum load of the trucks, so pretty much that's a problem. Also, they told us that with regular routes, sometimes they have to finish their routes, their shifts way early because there is no enough material. We have to keep in mind that they're not really familiar with applications, so we need to make it simple as much as we can, so they could use it properly. Gustavo explained to us that what he did and how far he reached it. The sensors measure the volume of the containers. It uses solar power for power source. The sensors collect data every 6 hours, and they collect like the volume of the containers, the battery length, and some other technical information, and they made it on a dashboard so they can produce it properly. The first steps for now we should take is to implement the sensors on the trucks, since he worked only with 3 prototypes. So there's not much information how we do on a large scale. That's a challenge. And the other one is to develop an app that could fit and work together with the information we collect, so it could make the routes for the truck drivers. And that's what we're planning to do now.
Yes, so from the findings from the interviews with the truck drivers and Gustavo, we figured out some requirements for the platform that we're creating. And we started out with a prototyping process where we were doing paper prototyping, and we cut out different elements that should be on the application. So here you can see we have this is, when you do a paper prototyping, you have the opportunity to move the different elements from the platform around and figure out how to make it most user-friendly as possible. And we even created a logo. We started out creating this logo, but Luisa, she said this is not a truck, so we created this logo instead, and I think it works better.
So, like Luisa and Gustavo said, like our solution is based on the continuation of Gustavo's project, which uses sensors to measure the trash cans and optimize the routes. For that, he uses ultrasonic technology, so he can see the occupants of the container and not the weight due to the different density of the waste materials. The sensors also use GSM architecture, which showed the best results in the test, different from the Wi-Fi and the antennas. But unfortunately, this technology uses a lot of energy, which comes from the solar panels. From them, we use the middleware to connect the sensors to the application. And with presets in Python, we can manage the data to that Google Sheet and then distribute to a dashboard and to our application. So our app is focused on the truck drivers. So with a simple and accessible user interface, we can show him his daily schedules, maps with an optimized route, and the containers fulfillment. And another feature is like he can see the impact that he's generating that day. Our third solution was the dashboard that Gustavo made on Data Studio to help like the company track and register its data and use it to improve it even more. For that, we use features like directive maps and like Pareto graphics, like the one way to actually manage basically containers.
Well done. For the next step, we are sitting meeting with the IoT Lab and Green Hamilton to discuss implementation, strategy, technology, and funding. We also believe that research and development is a continuous case step to improve our sensors, application, data treatment, and our user experience. For that, we have 5 groups from PESP 2 and PESP 5 working on the project during the whole semester. In well-defined scopes that aim to improve both our quality and our system. And that's it, people.
For the group, there is some group from PSP1 also.
Okay.
Don't forget them. They are there, okay?
Okay.
Great reaction. Thank you, Professor, for anticipating. And we actually have some space for the professors to, of course, comment the presentations. And the plan is indeed that now we go through the professors. But first of all, I'd like to thank the team. And it's clear that the team nice work of recovering the past works and now looking for realistic but also challenging new goals. So this is wonderful. And yes, so right now we can actually move to the page in which professors can comment on the presentation and comment on what the team has presented actually. Yeah. So I will give the microphone for each of you. So if any comment to you, like brief comments and brief questions also, and the team will have the ability also to clarify and yeah, perfect. Professor Moni? Yes. Anything? Nothing? Okay, Professor Mel, anything else? Any other topic? Yes. Only that comment. Perfect. Yes.
Thank you very much for an interesting presentation. I think it's a good and very important project you're doing. I have two questions for you. One question is, how does this benefit the waste users?
Now we are now working with waste speakers because we have to work with containers that can support the sensors. So that's why we're working with green for now. But the goal is when we structure the sensors and all the application, we go to public containers. But with that, we can get the materials from the containers and take directly to the cooperatives, to the storage centers, to the speakers. And that will make the work of the truck drivers that take the materials to the storage centers easier. Not especially the waste speakers, but the truck drivers will be more impacted.
I have another comment to that. We were thinking of creating a schedule for the truck drivers so they can see where they should pick up the different containers. And with that schedule, we can also introduce it to the waste pickers so they have an overview of when the trucks will be arriving so they can gather together and they know when they have to pick up the truck, so it's not just the truck honking outside, but they will have an exact time of when the trucks will arrive.
Thank you. I remember from some of the past meetings we had also with the SLU and the waste pickers, that one of the problems with collecting waste is that you can say the high quality, high value waste, such as plastic, is taken by others before the trucks arrive. So you have, how to say this, pirates stealing the valuable waste. And maybe that's something also to take into account when doing the project here, to see if there is a way to optimize that the truck drivers are reaching the waste before the thieves.
Yes, and the truck or the containers that we are operating with, they are supposed to be closed containers, so it should not be easy to go inside the container and dig through all the valuable waste.
And then I have another difficult, I think, question, and that is, what do you see as the most critical factors in order for this to get to work in real life? And so how do we take this from being a prototype and a demonstration to actual implementation and being used so we can realize 20% reduction of emissions?
In my opinion, it's funding because Gustavo had to pay for the sensors in the last project. So we can do more if we don't have funding. So we're counting on the universities to help on that because we have the lab to do this. They really want to be part of this. We have Green that is also interested. So for now, the first thing we need is funding, in my opinion.
And maybe that's also a perspective to take into account in the future work, is that it should really be affordable and cheap solutions. Because the more affordable the solution is, the easier it will also be to scale and get the funding to get it out and make a real impact.
Yeah, of course.
But thank you, it's a really, really interesting project. I'm really impressed by what you're presenting. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
I would like to congratulate the group that worked a lot and brought a lot of contributions such a small time limit. So I would just give, I have a question of what were the major problems that you faced during the development of the solution. And I have a tip that you should give more importance to the solution itself. Of course, that we know about the problem, but in your presentation, you pass too fast on the solutions. And you have a dashboard, which is an information system to have decision making. You have a map, you have technology of sensors put it together and specified to deliver the information necessary to bring information from the trucks and the weights of the trash, of the garbage. And I would just give that tip to you to really show the purpose of the work. And so I would have, my question is, what were the major challenges that you faced during the project?
One of the major challenges was that a lot of the features had already been created. So we had to figure out what we could do to contribute further to the project. And I think one of the important things was that we figured out that the truck drivers, they were using Google Maps, and they had a small, what they call, it's like a small tablet with navigation. But they would also have the possibility to put their phone and navigate through the phone. And we also wanted to actually motivate them. So they could have a real-time update of how much CO2 emission they were not emitting. I think this could be a motivation for them to actually use the application.
Great. Thank you.
Good morning, congratulations for the work. And I have a question. You have done an interview with a truck driver.
Yeah.
And he will be one of the users of the app. How do you think they all the drivers, can make this interaction with that? Do you think they can do this easily? Or it must be an app more easy to make interaction? Because you saw how we answer the questions, and some difficulties they may have to interact with an app, if that is more complex. What do you think about the complexity of that for the truck drivers?
So when you were doing like the PM canvas, one of the requirements was that the app has to be simple and accessible, so the user experience can be as clear as it can be. So we focus on not use so much text, like we even have a search bar in the beginning, but we thought like text and driving and other aspects of that could difficult the use of that. So we focus on use like the map and like iconographics to ease their way to that we use. And like in the interview, they also get into a truck and they see like the truck already has a map, and we use like an inspiration of that to, or like it's something like they are already using, and try to use that approach to our app.
And the second question is about the benefits. You saw the experiences, Gustavo, but another experiences using this in companies, in real companies in Greece, in Portugal. And the benefits are you use less fuel in the trucks, and another one, you will have less emissions of greenhouse gases. So you could put it like I don't know, not necessarily a sensor to make this measure, but to make some numbers, some indicators that you can use to show the benefits, the real benefits of your life. Okay, it's a good idea. So we reduce 10% of the use of new fuel in that route. In other routes, maybe less, maybe more. I saw in Portugal it was 30% the reduction of consumption of fuel. And after that, if you reduce the consumption of fuel, you also reduce the emission of gas. So you can take also simulation, not a sensor, I don't think it's necessarily a sensor, but a simulator, and you you can make only counts. You have an equation, you put a reference. It's not about this equation of that organization. Okay? It's a good idea so you can measure the benefits. It's a good way to show the real benefits. Okay?
Yeah, I think it's like there's something we have to improve on. When we thought of the impact words in the app, it's like for the driver you can see like I think it was very small and maybe we can see it, but like it's like really to think like the drivers can see like today it's like this one down here, so it's like very good to see like the driver can say like I saved this much food today. And the worker can see like what he's doing too. So this was very important for us. Like the human idea that the driver can see that is contributing to the solution. And for sure we can use like sensors to improve our acquiring of data on sustainable like goals. Yeah, I think it's a really great idea.
Just a compliment on that. Today we have the statistics based on the route that we optimized. So if he was supposed to go this way and with the sensors, we know he can stop right there. We know he saved fuel and that kilometer of the route. So based on that, we know the fuel, the distance, time, and the CO2 emissions. But yeah, the sensors would be better because we could have like
I said maybe sensors are not the ideal. They only make equations and make simulations. You have an idea of benefits because sensors becomes expensive.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Congratulations.
Yeah, I will just say, if you're wondering why we put a link to social media here, it's because we would like to motivate the truck drivers to also share how much CO2 emissions they are saving through this application. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the team. It was wonderful to see the presentation, wonderful also this reply section. So yes, please, you have concluded. Yes, the microphone. Yes, thank you. So right now to go and move forward with our schedule, I invite right now the team 3, if I'm saying the number right, which is mobile education, right? So yes, please. Thank you.
So we've been working with the mobile application, and to start off with, we needed to figure out where to start and what to do regarding our semester first day as well, because we want to take it with us home and work on it from there. So, if we go on.
So to start with, we had to figure out what this project was about, and that's done already. In the form of SDG challenges, and we just want to add to this whole project. There's been created a website with a lot of great features, audio, video, text, and user interface to create courses. And there's also an app making really close, where you can then take these courses on your phone. But there needed some kind of validation of what you learn, which you can go through courses really easy, and we don't know if you learn anything. So what we want to add is something Marco said.
All right. So basically, we called the guys and talked with police, which kind of stood us up with the Danish guys in last year, who were doing their project and for their bachelors. And we talked about how we filled our semester together with the mobile education project. and what they kind of thought would be the best idea for us and how to help them most at the same time. We would like to do a multiple choice assignments at the end of the course. So basically, you need to do the logic behind it, where you can not get the same questions for all the users, but it has to mix the questions so you can cheat. Then we wanted to do some gamification as well, and we're going to come in that a little bit. And then certificates, basically to show that they finished the course for some kind of validation of that they went through educational part that they could then use regarding to the waste center or works. The idea is it's scalable, so the focus is the waste figures here, but the idea is it's also scalable for the parts of the world in the long run if you keep continuing developing the app material.
Yes. To make this feature, multiple choice assignments, we need, of course, some help. We can do everything ourselves. We will focus on the development and learning how to build this kind of thing. And then we'll leave to the PSP2 teams to figure out what the best way to orchestrate a multiple choice is, and then let them compare their results. And the PSP5 team will help testing the quality of those results so that we can implement the best version of the multiple choice test.
Alright, so how, like, we were doing gamification, that's also something they're going to be helping us with, these features. With requirements on how to do gamification in the best possible way. So that's going to be backing up how we do it with their research. We are training the point system, so you have some kind of credits for your time in code, depending on how good you are doing multiple choice tests, you will get some points. When you're training the point system can be educated into a competition aspect where you can compete within the different competitors, but also like as a competitor as a whole, because they're already like competing on who is getting the most traction. This would then make the learning, like the motivation for learning higher, because they would be motivated to compete against each other instead of just being motivated to learn because they need to, basically.
So our goal is to make an application, make a feature that can be used in the application and tested on Google 5 to 10 waste bins, so that we can actually get some feedback and improve the feature and the whole application. Because right now the problem is difficult to test because it's not done. And with this feature, we will have a way to evaluate if they understood any of the courses, and we will see where that goes.
Yeah. So and just to add on to that, like the feedback and the further development, we're hoping to bring that on to our first semester if that's possible, so that we can continue doing this, but we're still figuring that part out. That's the goal, my idea. Then we have like benefits. Basically, we have open access both on the like educational side, that it's open for everybody to download and for the end user. That's the idea, that everybody can use it, so it's kind of like free, but it's also open access with regard to the software. We talked with Daniel and Jacob from last year's mobile education project, and they were telling us about they wanted to do like their whole software for open access so everybody could use it and work on it if they want, because they've been talking with other guys from other universities within Denmark who were doing similar applications and similar like websites and developing similar systems. And there's the benefit of having the ability to add new courses as a teacher. This feature has already been developed from last year's mobile application project, where they on the web page. So we would have to be adding on top of that feature because we wanted to have questions. So you can, like, as a teacher, go in and create a course within at the moment, like video, audio, and text. But we want to be adding our project to the feature that they did last year on the whole web page, is the feature of adding in questions and possibly also adding in the voice recordings of the questions. So they can be read when you do the multiple choice test if you're not able to read.
And one of the requirements to make this testable and usable is, of course, the user interface for the multiple choice assignment creation, and of course using and then we need some kind of progress tracking, and that's where we want to use like a point system so that people can see how well they are doing compared to each other. So we have to design that from the bottom, create the logic behind it so that we can calculate from what they answer how well they're doing. And then we of course need to create some kind of a certificate when they have created either when they have completed their course with a high enough score, and this is to with that. We will of course have to create the backend for both of these things. It's like that, and we have to make it possible to add it to the existing software. So we have to use the same kind of ideas. We will look at the software that's already been created, and we will learn the same language, the script, and to make it stick together by having conversations with Daniel and Jacob to figure out how to make it fit.
And then we have our table. Basically, if you look at the justification, for example, it's more like a whole project that they can be matched, so the whole idea of why are we doing this in the first place, where ours are going to be building on top of what's already existing instead of creating something new. So actually, hopefully, make something end up with a finished product that can be implemented and can be used by the waste figures, and will hopefully help them. And then we have, as you can see, the timeline, or like cost of 32 hours a week for each member of the biggest team. At the moment, we have 4. That might change a little bit because we've got new requirements from the university. 2 days ago, so we're still figuring out like a team at home. We might end up being like 5 or 6 people now, which will be a little bit higher.
And we can say that one of the reasons we think this is important too is that the benefit that Mark talked about, that this feature of this is actually needed for a lot of people. A lot of people are creating educational platforms, but they often get this hurdle where they don't have a quiz feature. So if we make this and they can open access, a lot of people will be able to move on and they help educate the world. I mean, the democracy is strong, of course, because the people will know what they are talking about when they know what they see in the world, and everyone will probably make better decisions and for themselves and get a little bit wealthier, buy more stuff, and the people growing and growing.
And last up, we have some credits. Like that, who's been an amazing help for us, and materials, and yes, of course, who've been making this trip possible for all of us, and here, and of course, the Untitled University. So, thank you to all of you guys, and thanks to the organizations making it possible for us to be in this day.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Johannes. It was really good to see the results of your week, how you managed. This is also a project that is is continuing from last semester, as you mentioned. We have the challenge of processing the past and also creating new vision from the future, for the future. So this is also really cool. And I'm very thank you. So now we can, of course, move to the professors. So comments, questions, anything. Professor Maria.
Congrats. I would like to know what kind of courses do you think to offer? Yeah. And what is the benefits of the EP for the speakers?
Well, yeah, first of all, we will also try to target the waste figures, but the idea is that we will build a framework with this kind of quiz element so that it's easy to create a quiz that will work, and then it's up to the creator more to target the audience. So we're able to target maybe the waste figures, and then later, when they find a good way to do that, they can move on to a different group of low-income people, but it's mostly for, low-income people. So it actually makes a difference. People kind of have the agent.
Yeah, I will just add on to that. The course last year, Jacob and Daniel did the web-based application, or like a web page, where you as a teacher you can go in and make a new course, which means it's kind of free interpretation of what you want to put in that course. Of course, the ideal is like go out and find the teachers who can make courses for the waste figures, like first and foremost, and afterwards you can start adding courses for everything from financial education to basic math or whatever you want. So it comes up, and then we have to figure out how to solve the courses.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations for the presentation. I have the same item that I did for the first group. PSP1, and now I'm talking about the universal procedure course. Okay? PSP1, the negative of PSP1 is this part of the negative is the how to do prevention, reducing, recycling, and using cooperative waste people. Okay? And then all the things start with PSP1. So now it seems like the SP1 is outside of that thing. Because we have to create in SP1 a new team, something that's new there. And it's a challenge for me and for Professor Celso, because we have to create some new things. In a thing that's already developed. It's quite easy and open, okay? To say, okay, let's do quality, let's do information systems on that. But to create a new thing, I would say the challenge for the people from the SP1 is very, very much present, okay? So this is the way. So one thing, the SP1 has to be here. We have just one thing. Which one is the one that is from the SP1 here? Just one. So tomorrow, Monday, we are going to have a class with the SP1. We are going to say, you are crazy. You don't know what is the course all about. You don't know what is this piece. So I'm going to say for the students, guys, you don't say anything, you don't know anything about the course. You are in the fourth semester and you don't know anything. All of you should be there. We have just one student here, 42. 42. So 32. So we are going to say our class will be like, guys, you are wrong. You don't know what's the course you are about. So for you, the question is this. One of the projects that we have there is to use this mobile application for data protection. How to say to for the teachers, for the speakers, that data, personal data, has a value that's inside each person.
how people in a very low education people this concept so this is kind of a personal thing. Okay? So it's something that is on the personal side of production engineering. So it's very interesting. But okay, we are going to say that, and how we will see the civil okay? But how to put this as part of the mobile application? How to develop a new application for the mobile application platform?
What do you think?
On data protection, to say for the waste speakers, you are talking about content of the course, not on the platform. I'm talking about the content of a course that's going to be part of the mobile application. So one thing is to have the platform. Another thing is to say, okay, the platform is going to have the financial education that is over there, but how to put a new thing, and this new thing is data protection. That has to do with cybersecurity. So how to put in a very, very low income people this concept that personal data is.
So you want the cost about data protection in the
Perfect. It's exactly what Professor Manuel, I think he's trying to say, like he's saying actually, is to, like, for example, insert into the platform of into the web to target the waste speakers with content with a data protection approach, which could be, for example, digital behavior, so they don't fall into schemes. So scams. So this is the thing. So he's asking maybe what do you think about it? Do you think this? Because I think his intention in PSP1 is that it's to actually have one team collaborating with a concept of this.
Definitely one of the ideas, like generally knowledge about society is what's basically just the financial costs that we of course need.
Basically, the idea is that everybody can make courses, and that platform is already up and running where you're going to make courses. So because of our requirements for our semester project back home at AAU, we're going to have to work with databases and networking, and that's why we ended up with a multiple choice assignment. But it's a framework where you, like, as a teacher, you can go in and you can make reports about data protection and like your user information if you want to. So we can go in, create audio files, create text files, video, and we're going to be adding multiple choice elements to that. So it's very much possible to add courses like that, but it is everybody can ask courses for whatever subject they want. And that part is developed like last year by Daniel and Teco, and we're going to be building the quiz basically so we can test whether or not like waiters or whoever is taking reports actually read and saw the videos and listen to the audio files, or they just go through and click next. So that's why the multiple choice gamification is going to be an important aspect of it.
Perfect. And also, Lisa mentioned that we already have some approaches related to this. So these guys of PhD, they can also take this work that was already done and continue. Wonderful. So thank you, Professor, and you guys, now Professor also.
Congratulations for your work. Very interesting. I understand your concern from them because they don't know it has a value, that their data has a value. They must understand it. It's not easy, but must think about one strategy that they can learn it in the course. I have two questions. I was worried about one number in your comments. 32 hours a week for each one of you. It's right?
That's what we probably need to do with ECTS functionalities. Yeah.
But it's real. It's realistic. It's
the profit of the entire semester is the product. So 32 hours a week.
It makes sense. We don't have that many lectures to do.
We basically look at the ECTS points, and then we figure out how, like, one point is 8 hours around there. the university website. So it's allocated 1 for this equals returning 8 hours of work. Because we're 4 people in the group, we took there's 15 ECCS points per person during the semester projects. So that's 60 points, and then we divided those 60 points out of the weeks, and then we can times that with 28 basically to get hours.
One of the reasons we made it a little bit high is also that we put the deadline maybe a little earlier for us, but because we put it at the SDG deadline, because we want to be able to access and of course. The
second one, when we show the gamification, it starts with rewards. Okay? And it's a great concern to think about rewards for the speakers, mostly. When we did the first capacitation program with them, we paid them to be on the classes. Okay? They receive to go to classes. If they do not go to the class, they do not receive money. It's money at the end of the account. It does not exist anymore. 1.5 year paying. So there are 2 years that it's closed. And it's not that effective nowadays to put them in the class that they go presentially or virtual to a class. So thinking about that, it's a challenge for Brazil, the team in Brazil, to think how we can reward them so they can spend 1 hour a day, 4 hours a week in a person, being there, presentially or in this case virtually. They have interest in this. So how we can reward them? That's a good question, it's a challenge. I don't have the answer, but it's a challenge.
Basically, we are hoping that teach teams can help figuring out how the gamification should work as well. And by that also figuring out how can you make the experience, use courses without having to pay physical money or take away their salaries. By motivating them to learn. But it is a very hard question to answer, and it's something we're going to have to be working on together. The issues and the design, hopefully we can help with the design with validating their requirements for the gamification part of it to motivate the experience.
One of the ideas from the earlier projects was having that introduce the app every day, get some extra points. So if you skip a day, then you can this week.
Yes. You can also use the offensive of Duolingo. It's very good. Contemplated, Professor Bonson, any other comment, session moments? Yes.
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. I also think this is a very interesting and important project. I think that when you are making the more technical parts, but we already discussed it a bit, to think also about that data usage. So the way speakers might not have limited data on their phone. So some smart way of caching content or providing offline access to content, I think would be an important feature. And in general, to maybe take one step back and make sure that you get the really good requirement specification from the beginning. I also think that if you're more people, if you're 5-6 people in the group, you also might be able to reach further. And that's also why it's a good idea to step back and think about such other requirements so you make a super product at the end, and so you also have some good academic contribution from the product.
Yeah, and whatever we take a slide.
Yes, any other essential comments from the professor? Otherwise, we can thank you very much, Mark. Wonderful. So to move forward directly, I have to thank you very much to the guys. It was great to see how they did and how they are actually aware of the project, being a project that requires continuation. So right now, I should forwardly, that doesn't exist, invite the unified and obsolete direction.
Thank
yes.
you.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I
how
think
good the control works.
Yeah. Cool. Hi guys. Hi. I'm just going to give you a quick introduction to the project that we were selected here at Team 4 about. It's the name of gamified app for selective collection. It's about how can we improve selective collection and what is the problem with the amount of selective collection we have today. We are 3 students here, 2 students from Copenhagen, studying cyber and computer technology, and Tisha from the production engineering here at the University of Brussels. And the first thing we did in this project was to figure out what was the basis of the project, and Tisha is going to talk about that.
so. Basically, SDG gathers students from all around the world so we can not only find but build solutions for the problems we discuss in here, and also focusing on the 2030 agenda. And considering the context we were giving and visiting the triage center, getting to talk to the waste makers and everything, we learned that recyclable trash isn't about just sustainability. It actually has like a huge role on economic and social for waste pickers primarily. And why is that? So basically, if you have like recyclable trash, they get to use it and separate it and compress it so they can sell it. So basically, a bag of trash becomes a little bag of amount of money. But the problem we have in here, we have some data that is from SLV report, the latest one, and we don't have that much of recyclable trash in there. So the problem is they don't have a lot of trash to work with, so they have a little bag of trash and they get a little amount of money. So that's basically what happens. So we were giving the solution of creating a gamified app for the selective collection. So basically the solution is motivating people to select their trash.
Yeah. So as the teacher said, we figure out the problem here is that people are not choosing selective collection enough, and not enough trash is going to the triage center. There's a goal of going, talk a little bit more about the goal later, but the goal is that we need to increase this trash to around 15%. I think that's the goal. So the product that could be made here is a product where you can motivate and teach people the importance of selective collection and show the people how it actually makes a difference. Because as we've been talking about with actually our host families, the problem is also that people are not sure that they go to the right place. They don't know if it makes a difference, what difference does it make. So we need to educate people of the importance of this and what benefits it makes. So as you can also hear, we've come up with some basic requirements for the project and the product, but we have focused a lot about what is the problem, what is the problem we want to solve, and then through this semester we can dive into what this problem can be. Also, I actually forgot in the beginning to mention that this is one of the newer SDG challenges problems that we're working on. So there is a basis of figuring out what would the long-term solution be for this and actually visualizing what is the problem. For this project, maybe Anna, could put in the questions? Yeah, just the requirements for this product, or for the project actually. In our course this semester, Agile Project Management is going to be a big part of it. So working continuously, developing new features on the basis of the learnings we're doing in our courses. Yeah. So not making the plan from the beginning, because we have more to learn. And
yeah, so we focus more on like the planning of the project rather than the project itself. And why is this very important? We want to increase the quantity and quality of the recyclable trash that they get in these triage centers, because people here are very bad at sorting the trash. And like a big problem in the triage centers are quality, like there's organic material in the trash that's harder to sell. Dirty trash is not good. So, like, with this app, we will try to make people know which goes to the recycling and which goes to the landfills. So yeah, we're talking about the why, and we are focusing more on the SMART objectives. So the SMART objectives for this project in this semester would be to document of a report on the data analysis about motivation and gamify and UI by May 5th, which is where our semester ends. It's about that. And then, so that would be up to like production engineering students. And the second one would be more up to for them, for the CCT students, which is the way of tracking users' progress of selected collection by May 25th. So that means that it's up for us, production engineering students, for us to know what people think and do a survey and really study that data so we can like come up with ideas for how we can motivate people, because we're working with a lot of different people. So do they get motivated by food? Do they get motivated because the goal is going up so we don't have to have sponsors for food? Like, what do we need to do to get more with less? And then it's up for them kind of to find out how they're going to be tracking. So how they're going to prove that people selected, or if we're not going to work with tracking. So that's basically it. And then who is just like people who are involved? So the team is basically CCT students with production engineer students as well, and the external stakeholders, which are very important, or professors, sponsors we might need, as much as waste pickers, and also the whole civilization of Brasilia.
Yeah. So the way that this project comes to life is that we, as the technical side in Denmark, we need to get the process of the selection collection mapped out by PSP 1, 2, or 5 students in there, so they can show us how does this work, where is it that the mistakes are happening, and from that, the requirements for a solution can be made. So that's like having, we're talking about like, I think we got it too, but having the process mapped out, figure out where the problem is, make an app that can be teaching people about the solution, and gamifying to get more selective collection. Either it's gamifying, either it's education. It's going to be a combination of the two to figure out how we can improve this, because it is important. I think what we have learned this week is people need to realize the benefits of education does. It's like the one line.
Yes, so then we have the deliverables. We were talking about this too much, so we need an agile project management, because it's the way they work with cyber tech. They do it like that. They have problems and they fix it as much as the problems kind of appear. And I think PSP students could help it with that too. So we would have to have a timeline for PSP students and for CCT students, because they're working together and they kind of depend on each other. And so, like, if the timeline is messed up, then the whole thing is messed up. And we also have a problem with timing, because their semester ends by the end of May, so they have the whole May to work on it, and we only have like the very beginning of it. And so the deliverables, we talked about it too. It's not viable to have the app itself. So what we can do is have the agile project management, the user survey we talked about, where we find out motivation for people, what do they want, why don't they select their trash, what are their difficulties on that. Also document report with data analysis on motivation and gamifying. That comes also with the report of data analysis on the UI design, so figuring out if the platform is intuitive or not, and the web app, which is something that they will build throughout the whole semester. Also a report on tracking the gamification, so they will come to us and say, okay, this is viable, we can do that, or no, we're not doing that, it doesn't really make sense, we need to have sensors or something, that's way too expensive. So we need like to know how that is going. And then further SDG scope, because it is an app, it's going to take a lot of time to develop it. So we need to plan out like what is going to happen after all those deliveries.
Yeah, risk.
Yeah, we're talking about.
Yeah. She mentioned it great, but there's a lot of risk in this project. with the two universities working together. So like the communication gap can be very difficult to plan ahead because we have different timelines. And we have Brazilian time and Danish time. But then like a big important thing here is to make sure we can make the projects individual. Like it's gonna be better, like if we work together, but it's important we can do it also alone, so we're not dependent on the other team. So basically, we were giving a solution to motivate people through gamified app, but we have challenges inside the solution. So just gathering information up, we have to get more qualified trash in the trash center, so the waste pickers can get more money and share with their comparatives. And we have to encourage people to select their trash. Again, as I said, people are different. We don't know what motivates them. We have to study. We have to have data analysis to really be assertive on it. And then the process of actually gamifying. So what is the programming that we need to do to find out if they did it, if they didn't do it, is it reliable, how is it going to work? And a huge thank you for Grupo Gestão, SDG, Aalborg University, and Wayne for this event at this moment. And if you have any questions, you can just ask us. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much to the team. It's an honor nature of team because you were actually starting the project from scratch. So it's other natures of challenge because you need really to build from scratch, okay, and not like import from other semesters. So great, but alright, thank you so much for the team. We can have this space for the questions and comments. Right now I'm going to control a little bit more the time so we can finish in a good time. So we're gonna have 10 minutes for this session of questions lyrics. So this morning.
Have a nice presentation. How do you think to elucidate the requirements for the?
Okay, so that actually comes with the agile project management. So basically, we have to all sit down. So people from Denmark, CCT students, construction engineering students, we have to sit down and, okay, this is what we need. So we can't make the app if you don't have the answers of the survey. What do we need to do? It's just like really communication all the time. And then we have to set up a deadline for also having the project management, or else it just gets messed up and it won't have a timeline. So I believe that's how it's going to work.
Yeah, and also this is where the PhD students come in. It's because we need to analyze the essence of what the problem actually is and document that. We made an interview with, I can't remember what he was. He was from one of the, I don't know what it was. He was one of the guys in charge of one of the waste picker firms.
Okay, one of the sorting centers.
Yeah, no, the guy, Alex. Okay, yeah. And we asked him what his opinion was on the problem. It was a lot about teaching and stuff like this. We talked about, but we need to figure out what is the actual real problem, and from there, we can look into the requirements and actually figure out that we're solving the problem and not what we think is the problem.
Make a backlog and stuff.
Perfect. I will, should have contemplated everybody, pardon. I will go to also because this is called this, but pretty much going to call this also. Yeah. Congratulations for
Just an idea, I don't know people from PSP, but here at the university we have a program for self-collection. And I'm part of the committee that has this. And we have here about 16,000 students that are coming back in some presidential activities. So we are going to start this next month. I don't know which one, they are going to be selected. And we can make a pilot here with the students of the university and the cooperative here. Maybe, I don't know. So that's, but just to think about this, we are working on this in this environment here. The Technology Institute and all the here, with 4 companies.
That's great. They could actually be part of the project management.
Yes.
Right?
Maybe just add a note, and it's not to do something, and we talked a little bit about it, but one of my things I think we need to use the PhD students is to figure out that we have the whole process. Because yes, we can teach the students to select collection, but if the trash gets picked up and put in the same bag and then put out to the landfill, then it doesn't make a difference that the students are doing select collection. So that's why like the whole, where is it that the chain breaks? Where is the problem is? Because maybe it's not where we think it is. That's also why we haven't talked as much about product yet.
We have the same problem here. In this building, you have a started collection. You have two different trashes, but sometimes people from they have contract with the university, they're a private company, they make the clean of this building and they mix it. So we can put in the contracts that are training for them. That's why you have almost every building in Brazil, you have a company, private company making the cleaning of the building. So it could be a solution. There, you separate your trash, your waste in your house, but people who cleaning company mixes everything before the truck. The truck, they cannot separate it. Instead, you must separate this in your building.
Yeah.
So that's could be idea. You can talk about it.
Great, sure.
Perfect. And we have seen that. We have seen they were actually doing it more than once. So we have the separated trash cans, and then they just got both bags and used the same bag. Yes, so now Professor Well.
One good thing for content for the gamification, the questions, are the 17 SDGs. So which one? So we have to go, because we have 17 and we have 169 targets. So if you go in this 169 targets, you can see, okay, there is something you have to see, okay, for instance, consumption. Sustainable consumption is one of the SDGs. Okay? So if you go there, you have lots of targets there. Could be some material for you to put in this game. Okay? So go through the 17, you didn't do that with you. So for in terms of training, okay, for the contents of the game, you have to see what you want to put in this game. So the 17 SDGs are the essential material to go into there. Okay? We have 169 targets. See which ones are out of the 17 go in this selective collection, okay? And then choose the targets there, and this could be a very good source of questions for the game. Okay?
I think one of the main SDG goals we focused on now is like the social part of it, getting people away from poverty, because there are potentials for having more waste pickers work at these zero centers, but to do that we need to generate more trash. So that's like the approach we focus most on. But yeah, it's a good point to include also maybe visualizing how you're reaching the different goals in this kind of gamification as we're working towards more of the.
I would say that it's not a good point. It's an essential point. It should be done.
Yeah.
If you don't consider the 17 SDGs, you are not in the project. So it should be focused on the 17 SDGs.
Perfect, Professor. Great. Jens, Professor Edgar.
Sure. Just to challenge your time management. No, I also think it's a really interesting idea. My impression is that there are certain things in life which are just commodities and which are very difficult to make people engage in. That is, for example, electricity, because you just expect it, you push the button and it works, and you don't really care about where it comes from or how it's done, unless it's not there. The trash, I have a feeling it's the same. You put the trash in the can and you're just annoyed if there is no trash can, and then you don't really think about what is happening to the trash afterwards. So I think it's important and ambitious what you do. But do you imagine that people every time they put something in the trash can also will open their phone and use an app? Because, or how do you expect that people be able to engage with with the people and the users?
I mean, this app is like a motivator, so people will use them sometimes, and it's more of like a learning app because you can learn like which trash goes where, and then you gain points for putting your trash out or doing stuff like that, and then you gain something from it. So that way people will maybe use it because you gain something. Like you make it a game even like using it.
And I think everything is about like experiment. So I think like us students, production engineering students, going out, interviewing people and like making that survey, we will see if it's something that will work. So we will work on that project. And if it doesn't work, if it's a cultural problem, then is an app going to solve it? No. What do we need to do? Is that up for us? So I think it's a shot that is worth taking. So I'll definitely.
Yeah, I think as we talked a little about the gamification part of it is to either gain benefits by sorting, or for example, big corporations can gain something for achieving an optimized conversion. That's where like the gamification element comes into play, more than like it being something you open and then by doing that it's a game. It's more of the leveling part of gamification that should be used. But that's where the research comes into place.
Yes, we do have a lot of research to do before.
And I think your approach makes very good sense. I'm a little reluctant to introduce because I think it's people sometimes will reply, but they think they should reply.
Yeah.
Like I know from my own domain in when it comes to security and privacy, if you ask people how important their privacy is and how much is the cost of their identity, they will say it's very high. But when they go to the airport and they can get free Wi-Fi, or if they can participate in a competition and get a 10% discount, then all of a sudden they are selling their identity for €2. So there is something, sometimes a discrepancy between what people say they want to do and then how they actually behave. And so maybe it's also a good idea at an early stage to do some testing with users, so it's not only questionnaires.
Yes, and that's actually a really interesting point because sometimes when we are doing the whole project management, we can just think, okay, if we want to interview 250 people, this is going to take too much. It's going to take like half of the semester. Do we really need this? Do we don't? So you have a point, really. People say stuff and people do different stuff. So maybe just putting on a hypothesis and start to work on it, like without just searching for interviews, that could be an idea too. And that comes with the project management.
I'll make it short because I think the time's gone, but we're going to use, as we get taught in PBL, one of the methods of gaining data by observation instead of asking questions. Because I think the biggest learning we've done is observing how the trash is picked up out here. So you need to observe people's behavior instead of asking them about the behavior, because people want to sound better than they maybe are.
And then I have another question. Could you try to go back with the slides? I think it was one of the very first slides. And go more back.
Go back, that's just
Yeah.
And a little bit for yeah. No, I just thought you had a slide where you said collective selection.
Yeah, I also saw that.
Was that true?
Yeah, collective. You go back.
I'm so sorry, though.
It's the one with the round thing.
oh,
It's the one with the round thing.
Brown?
It's not another one.
Oh, the graph, the pizza graph.
This one.
Yeah, it's a collective selection. And I was wondering what you meant by collective selection. But maybe there is a good point in it. Yes. Because we actually have to do this together for it to work. It's not enough that a few people do it, but this is something you really do together. So maybe the collective selection is a good takeaway point from the presentation.
perfect. Thank you.
Wonderful. With this final, that's maybe a lesson behind it. So thank you so much to the team. Yes. Great. So right now, after the gamified app, we are going to have the improving waste triage production, and I invite the team to dominate the floor. So yeah, please, and let's welcome them.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Marcus. I'm the first semester of production engineering, and our theme is improving waste triage production. So, recycling complex, and we saw there are a lot of problems there. But the biggest problem we faced was the delivering of the waste at a pedal. So we worked during the week as a group to try to optimize this process of delivering the waste. Here's our canvas, the most important the most important information about our project, but we are going to explain it by topics. The justification is because there is a lack of structure and organization when receiving the waste bags. And we want to implement our project in 2 recycling centers until the end of our semester.
So, hi guys, I'm Yasmin. The benefits of this project are having a functional, healthier, cleaner, and better open space, improving work conditions, and avoiding wasting waste. The first and the second, the both are to help the workers to be more efficient and work at a place that is organized and clean. Because as you can see in those images, it's chaotic. And the third, avoiding wasting waste, was a problem that the engineer Isabel told us that the waste is getting wet because of the rain and lose value. So it's a bad situation. And we hope that with our project, we can help them to solve this problem. And with these benefits, those who will be affected are waste speakers cooperatives, SDG professors, and UNB.
Okay, so hey guys, my name is João Gabriel, and I'm the first semester of production engineering, and I'm here to talk to you about 2 interesting topics. So let's see the product. Multidisciplinary project to improve the process and structure of waste received at the company. So why is our product multidisciplinary? Because as we want to create or build a structure, make a positive, we might need some help from other students, from other engineering, like civil or software engineering, and will be great. So let's see the requirements. Having a safe structure. So as we saw in the pictures and the field work on Wednesday, the waste pickers are risking their lives every day at work, and can't let that happen. So we might reduce the danger. Utilizing low-cost materials. So we need to have that in mind from the beginning, because we need to fit our project in our reality, in our situation here. And we don't have infinite money, so that's very important. Having a functional design. So when we talk about the design, we're not
it's not about the appearance. It's about having a good result in a simple way, you know, making it easy to manage. So because of that, any waste speaker will be able to use our project, our product, and we don't need to change a lot their organization that they have right now. And the two topics last, keeping the patient clean and preventing waste immunity, they're related because both are talking about visual organization and about the health of the place and about reducing the disease that exists there.
Hi, I'm Kenzo, and I'm the fourth semester of production engineering. So I'm going to talk about the constraints, and our project has a deadline to the second semester, and to the final semester, to the end of this semester, and we know some of the problems maybe the cooperative acceptance, since having a big that dealing with big changes in their lives, in their work, maybe a difficulty for us and our project. Now I'll talk about the assumptions. Protected workers would like to make it possible to the cooperative workers manage their meal layout in a simple and effective way, making it easy to be handled. And seeing the complex and the way speakers working, we saw that our group got invested in this project, and we want to make it possible so the next SDG teams and UNB classes can be are going to be invested on continuing this project and making it more complex and making the race speakers' lives easier. Yeah.
Right, so I'm Lisa, I'm also in the first semester of production engineer, and I'll talk to you about the risks. So all kinds of projects have risks, so ours has to. And the first one will be the lack of funds. We don't know yet how much everything will cost, but we are not sure if we will be able to raise enough funds. So this is also a risk. The second one will be non-acceptance of the cooperatives. So since we are improving space of work of other people, they have to agree with us. So it wouldn't make sense if we post something that they don't like and it just wouldn't work. And the last is thing, not succeeding in delivering a viable project. We hope it doesn't happen, but maybe we can deliver everything in the timeline. And that's it. We hope it doesn't happen. And deliverables. So the first one will be together a multidisciplinary team. So as Ron said in the beginning, we need different people from different knowledge areas, other engineers, and maybe even other knowledge areas. The second one will be data collection of similar projects. So if we take a look at similar projects, we can see what mistakes have been done before and avoid them. So we will avoid risks. And we can also get a reference on the ones that went really well. So we can have based on them. The third one will be to build our layout. So since we have reference, we can start building our own layout. And fourth, survey operator also. When it's ready, the new layout, our project, we can see how much it costs and the last structure development. So as you can see, our project is kind of to build a project, to build a structure. We're working more on the idea, and I think it's something that takes some time, but we hope to deliver it in the timeline. So try to gather the team between February and March, and try to deliver everything by the end of the semester, which is May 5th. And that was it. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed.
Thank you so much to the team. This is the youngest team in here. It's so good that you are in the first semester and you're already targeting this. But yes, I will thank first of all, thanks to the team, and I will already pass it to Professor. Professor also is already there.
As yesterday, congratulations to the very great job. And I said you were second week, yes, they are here, second week of the university. And they, so thank you very much for accepting this challenge for you. And I have an idea now, representing that group, talking about 3-4 days and having to revisit our problem. The non-acceptance of the projects. You should maybe, after we have like one, just the deliverables, but it's not the deliverables, yes. New layout development. Between the 2 and the 3, you may make a kind of dialogue to talk with speakers, and to see what they think about the solution before making the development. Do not arrive with a project already done. Test some things you're going to make data collection and see what project you make a collection of the expectations they have. So that may reduce the risk, not eliminate, reduce the risk, okay? And then when we have the development, we can come back and show that's the result of our development. What do you think about it? You see something you must change or not. After that, you make the proposal, okay? 2 more steps there. The two in the line, between the line, to talk to them, and they can feel like they are part of the project. It's a good way to reduce this okay? But congratulations for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I talked with the team, and we are planning a visit there. And the team will observe the beginning of the trucks, and the team will interview the speakers. But it's necessary to add this deliverable interview with speakers. Okay? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I if you need some help with mechanical device or equipment, I can put some mechanical engineering students in the project. I'm here to prepare some this way.
It will probably be during the semester, so thank you very much.
First of all, I will say that congratulations for the 4 ones that are here for the first semester. In just 2 weeks of MD. And tonight you are going to do some words in our class, okay? So when you are getting a bonus. The bonus is that instead of 2 deliveries, you are going to have 3. So your topic of the NATI that is going to be assigned to you is social process. We already have one of the 13 thematic processes that we are going to assign to the group. Tonight we are going to do this. So we already have this. Then you are going to have to prepare a class in production process. You are going to have to see what is the calculus things regarding what calculus interaction with this production process. And besides that, as a bonus, you are going to have this project done, okay, by the end of the semester. Congratulations once more. And for you from the PSP1, just tell our colleagues that this is an example that we should have here in our course, okay? So congratulations once more.
Thank you.
Perfect. Any other? Yes, please.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I think it's so impressive that you are here in such an early state of your study. And that's congratulations with that. When I think that that is really important when you are making structures like this to keep in, because this is not the only place you have this problem. You have this problem in many places all over the world. And when you're saying that one of the challenges is if it is too expensive, maybe you could consider that as one of the constraints, that it has to be cheap and it has to be affordable. And maybe also accept that you will not make a perfect solution. But if you can make a solution which is better than what we have today, that can actually happen, that is a better solution than a perfect solution which cannot be implemented because it is too expensive. And maybe you can also keep that in mind in your development process of your deliverables, so that you kind of have an iteration between D3 and D4. So if you make a layout and you realize this is being too expensive, then you come back and try to make a cheaper version, even if it is not as good. If it can be implemented, that's really, really an important part. And once again, congratulations in your work. It's super impressive to see.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just want to congratulate the group for the courage and the daring project and complex solution, because these solutions brought new problems. So you're dumping all the trash from the trucks in the patio. Makes no difference of that in them back in the open air, except for the paved ground. So the problem can also be looked at other stages of the production system, just making the tree the patio by a big machine, or making the trucks go in a higher place so they can dump that in a deeper cleaner. And the problem also is on the way that people are separating the garbage. We separate the garbage, but the garbage, the recyclable garbage is all put together in the truck, so they are wasted as well. So try also to see other links to the problems by integrating your project to others. That's my tip.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, team. Wonderful, wonderful. So, yes, concluding this university in our SDG challenge this year. Right now, I invite to the stage Luis, who is going to present the Puma project. Because Gabriel is already in the stage, so they didn't invite him.
Can you run? Yeah, those are turned off, right? Okay, so if I use the slide picker, will it work? Yeah, it will. Okay. So for a start, I would like to thank all the professors and all the students for this wonderful week, the organizers of this amazing event, and say that this is a really big, a really huge thing we are building here for the rest of the semester, for the rest of our lives, and for the 2030 agenda. nowadays, we saw all those presentations and all those projects. They are all linked with the SDGs. They all have goals. They all try to impact global society in a manner. There are lots, like thousands of projects around the world that doesn't. They only think about the delivers. Otherwise, they think about the learning that the students can have. And I'm talking about graduation projects and also master's degrees projects. And that's why Puma was like, that was the main idea of Puma. That's how it was born. To create patterns, to create a tool that can measure the impact of a project in the society, that can measure the impact of this project according to the SDGs. We have an objective, of course. We need to measure this, we need to get data, we need to create indicators so that we can create patterns. And then the future projects, they can work inside those patterns, and then they can actually make changes, and then not only being a student project, or like being actually a thing that will help the entire world. That's actually one of our benefits. It's creating this database, those indicators, and being able to create a pattern for all the future projects that are coming, that will be made in all around the world in this platform. Yeah, okay, so our project will deliver in the end of the semester. We're going to make a study that will deliver we will give this a study where we can like indicate the success of the project for the students and the professors. And then they can like measure what was the impact they had during all of this process of this project time in the entire semester. We have some requirements. We need some data visualization features and some previous databases, because if we are building this, we need to look backwards before I can look forwards. So we need to study like done projects. We need to know why they haven't made a huge impact. So how they couldn't do it, why and when. So if you find those questions, if you find those points where they were like out of the road, then you can think and prepare the restrictions so they can actually work as they should. We were working with the university, the professors and the BSP students. Also, we have the programmers in my campus in Gama, the software engineer students, the professors there. We'll also have the Spirit University in Turkey with Professor Kahalat, and Tunisia, and the programmers of Professor Kahalat. And our team is Professor Simoni, Professor Gianni, Gabriel over here, Mari, she's actually there, and me. And like Cristina, Luis Henrique, they're like programmers from our campus of the university. Our assumption is to access those previous project databases and create a dashboard and like find the correct generation tool for this dashboard, because we will have lots of data and we'll have a really big study that we will make, and we need a dashboard to show it, to display, and like so we can make an interactive database so people can actually know and learn from this dashboard presentation. Yeah, and we have all those 4 points. Our deliveries, we need to define like how the indicators will measure the success of the project. That's our first goal, our first delivery. And then we need to define the success of those indicators inside the process and measuring like those previous indications. So we need to measure what already happened in the projects, so you can have and create this database. And then after all, we'll create a dashboard presentation so you can show all what happened and what we studied. Yeah, we don't have actually lots of constraints. The main concern is finishing inside the deadline, because creating indicators, we want to have at least 3 of them. It isn't easy. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of work. So the main risk and constraint we have now for our project is not finishing it in the deadline, but we will work out. We have a nice timeline. Lack of time, lack of previous project databases. Because if you want to do like this really huge and nice thing, we need to have some good projects to look into and to study. So we will like search in different types of databases of previous projects made, and then we will find them, and then we need to study them. Yeah, so that's our schedule. That's the dates where we need to make the deliveries. And the semester it ends like on 5th of May. So we'll have like a week to make things right. And the costs of this project, we don't have actually lots of expenses, because we're using the BSP students and the Ghana students, the programmers. So I calculated how much hours it will take for them in a week, and how much weeks it will be, and in the total semester, how much hours they will need to give to this project. It was boom. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, so I just brief comment for the investors' comments as well. So like Puma is a very big software with lots of functionalities and modules. So we can just make everything work in one semester. So we talked a lot during this week about like what we should prioritize to make it first. So we came to this impact measurement scope, because okay, we can manage all the projects in Puma, we can like organize them, accept project proposals or deny project proposals, and organize all the results that we have, but we can't measure the real impact that these projects are making. So Puma would be just like a project management tool. That's not what we want. We want like to really gather all the impact that all these projects presented here, and all the projects that has been done the last semesters, also all the projects that will be done in the future semesters. We want to really show how they are helping us to achieve the SDG goals and help us achieve the 2030 agenda. So that's why we are focusing on really creating indicators that show us the impact that these projects can and will make on the SDG goals.
Thank you so much, Chris and Gabriel, for the very nice view on Puma. Puma is very important, because indeed is what will and which allows and which will keep allowing, let's say like this, very nice collaboration with different projects and measuring the impact, which is very important. And also because during this semester, we are going to have at least 25 SDG challenge projects in these different courses. So this means that we have many scopes and many teams integrating all of this is very, very, very key to the success of everything. And opening for comments. Yes, Professor.
Congratulations for the project. It's very important. How Matheus said, it's important to coordinate all these projects, not only in one semester, but in 6 semesters now. Is that well, that we are working with these projects in the team? We have a lot of projects that we need the platform to make this story and to see which are the goals that they have reached. And just one thing, this 8 hours, it's 11, 12 hours, is 112 hours for each one. What is the total for the group?
No, the total for a group. Yeah, I mean 8 hours for a group in a week, and then
This is the total for a group. It's 8 hours per group, and it's going to be 14 weeks, so it's 112 hours in total for the group that's managing it. Kind of like 2 hours in a week for each person.
The second one,
your first slide is just a commentary. You go to your first slide, you can put there, participation. I don't like when you must think about that. Really. I don't like to use never, ever, all, none. Okay? They were telling us that there isn't a tool. And for me, in the word, Brazil or in Brazilian. So it's very difficult to say there isn't a tool. We don't know a tool. We did not find a tool. People does not use the tool, but there isn't a tool is very strong. It's just a suggestion, recommendation. It's not good to use these words, these strong words in academic and scientific documents. Ever, all, none, never. It's not a good way to write. We could be a bigger audience here. Someone, hey, in Ukraine, I developed one like this, and it didn't work. I was in Piracicaba, in São Paulo, and I have one. It's not good to use this. Just comment.
Thank you, Professor. Professor Murray, any comments?
You can answer. Okay.
Just a comment to the number of hours. It is something that we have to see, yes, regarding what is how many hours the students here are going to have in a week, and how many hours the students from our are going to have there. Okay? So it's a kind of a way to talk about it. Okay, the 32 hours a week. I guess 2 hours a week. I think you are minimizing these 2 hours, okay? I think 2 hours just to go to the class. Yeah. We are talking about 2 hours a week, okay? But I would say that 8 hours for each one would be a good count. It would be something that we expect in our PSPs, okay? So it's realistic. 8 hours a week for PSP. So I would say that this is strong in terms of hours, but I think it would be something that we would say that 8 hours, I would say. But compared to 32 hours there, it's something that sometimes maybe what you are expecting from us here could be more than we are delivering because we are not putting enough hours, enough work, okay? And not because we don't want to do this, because our how many hours were put is something that's different from that. For them, it's 32 hours. So can you imagine 32 hours for each one, or for the group or each one, compared to 8 that for us is a realistic thing. We are talking about 4 times more hours than we have here. So it's something that when we are talking about the results, okay, we are taking results from there and results from here. This is something that we have to see to okay, you don't have to expect the same kind of hours, the same kind of results that you are having there. But it's something that we have to discuss in terms of results, okay? So it's something that we have to discuss among the professors of this case. Regarding the platform, it's really very important in this platform, especially when you are talking about new things. How to get new items to study, okay? And the platform is a way of going to the market and getting these things out from the society. Okay? So I think this is the major contribution of this platform is to go and to have, okay, this is very easy for the society to see what are the real problems. Now we have big things, SDGs, Germany. Okay, so this is one thing. How many problems are there in society? Many more than just these things. So this is very important as a source of problems for the real problem for us to. So this I think is the main contribution of the congratulations for the presentation. Now we think that you are going to get people from Ghana to the project, okay? So it's very good for you to have together. Okay? Ready for the presentation.
Also from my side, thank you for a very interesting presentation. It's a very, very good and important project you're doing. With respect to this time division, I think it's really important to address it, that you have different workloads from different people. On the other hand, I think it's not impossible, and it very much reflects how you work also in real life. Very often you have projects where some people are working maybe 20 hours per week, others are working 5 hours per week. Mateus, Rasmus, we are having projects together where I'm maybe 2 hours per week and you are maybe 20 hours per week or even more. And that is just a matter, you can say, of project planning and on agreeing on expectations. So I think it's a very healthy real life exercise to do, but it can be painful, and the alignment of expectations is super important. What I was thinking about as a recommendation for you too is that very often when you're doing projects, especially when you're getting money from, I don't know, from the Danish government or from the European Union or something like that, you have to make an evaluation when you finish the project. But very often the real impact is happening after you finish the project. And that will also be with the waste figures, for example, making the education app. It's not when you're finished making the app, you can measure the impact is once it's being used and spreading. So I think keeping in mind that projects often have an impact that goes beyond the end date of the project is really important.
So congratulations for the presentation, very clear, very objective, and Puma has been evolving semester constantly in a very nice way, and it's interesting to see that you are still putting the pieces together to go on with it. I would just give a suggestion that you already translate your deliverables into software engineering artifacts and databases, architectures, which is already necessary artifacts that we need to focus on from now on, and especially that you have a multidisciplinary team working with you. Make sure that you put them into speak this language. Additionally, saying, my tip for all projects.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. Just a brief maybe clarification about the time. So that time was thinking on the main group, that is basically us and Marina and professors, but there will be like PSP groups and software engineering groups working together, and that will be like extra times, because like this group especially is not involved with one PSP specifically, it's like extra squad that is helping the project. So that's why we have maybe little time, but like there will be other groups assisting us, so the time really dedicated to the project will be bigger than that.
Exactly. Perfect. That's great. Then, therefore, we have finished all the presentations. We have seen wonderful results from many teams. And just before, very good, just before we go to our closure of the SDG challenge, I'd like to invite Daniel, who manifested interested to make a 2 minutes for talk about his involvement in the SDG challenge, and then we go through the real finish this. So, welcome, Daniel.
I'd like to briefly comment about my experience here this time. As many of you already know, I'm part of national relations. And this work here is a little bit different from an engineer. Also from the side that you get to be working outside of the pressure. It's also great. But it's also good to control and appreciate the results of my work. And I also consider that coming here is an investment in culture, also knowledge. Starting with the visit, but I want to enjoy it again and reach some conclusions which I will share at some point. It's like kind of So this time I decided to work at the back and chose a group to join streets. Therefore, I took time trying to understand the idea, trying to influence the project the way that I could. But without entering technical aspects, sorry about that. But keeping the format and language correct, try to put some elements in the world, also contributing with ideas that their work has been great in that problem. Furthermore, I'd like to thank Outlook for the exchange opportunity. We want to briefly the great reception, Outlook, great reception, August, great events, social events. And everyone else, I hope to see you all in Denmark. That's it.
Perfect. It's always a pleasure to receive you here. Thank you so much, Daniel. Yes. Okay, sure. So this was it. I think our week was very productive. The SDG challenge aims to do what we talked from the first day to today is to evolve us as young people and as you as students in the university itself with the Sustainable Development Goals, which is vital because we need to start from early thinking about this, because this is a strategy it's a common strategy that reaches the entire globe. It's very important because we as humans are in a common place, so we need to have a common vision together. This is very important. And inside here, the university, especially engineering and IT, having a special participation in this process is also a key part of this, because engineers transform the world in many ways, as we can see. So I think the week has been a great success. We have seen the projects, we have seen the people that were very engaged with the things. It's very important. I need to thank especially the students, but also I thank the professors who are here. So Professor Boni, Professor Romelo, Jens, Professor Olsausen, Professor Gianni was here, Professor Edgard was also here. And I also thank Group Gestion, especially in the person of Gabriel, who has led the week in terms of work and has led many of the aspects of also the entire SDG challenge. So thank you, Group Gestion, and thank you, Gabriel. And by thanking Group Gestion, I start already thanking our partners. So I thank our university, the Danish Engineering Association, who participated in a very wonderful way, making possible to the Danish team to come and actually the existence of this entire SDG challenge. It's like depends so much on the coming of you guys, and I think these 25 engineering projects that we are having in this semester is pretty much due to all the involvement that we have together. So it's great. So thank you. I must give a special thanks to Ida for making it possible, and also UNP. So I said Group just now, Ida, the United Nations, like the UNP, which is also a partner for long term, and is an obvious partner because we are talking about SDG challenge. I thank the Embassy of Denmark for the involvement, the Embassy of the Netherlands, also Brad Ballard University in the person of Professor Christina, who is also getting so much involved. She's contacting me and us a lot. She's really interested. So yes, I thank you so much, and I hope you had a great week, and I hope we will have a great semester working together. So thank you. And if anyone has any other thing to say, let me know. Otherwise, we are going to enjoy together. But Jens has it to say.
Yes, Andrew. Thank you, Matthias. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Some for being here again. some for being here for the first time. Almost 2 years ago, on the 30th of January 2019, I had the opportunity to visit the West Speaker facilities for the first time. And Daniel was here and was able to simultaneously translate from Portuguese to English. So it was actually possible to speak with the West Speakers directly. And I remember that there was a break when they stopped the conveyor belt, they had a bit of lunch, and we went into the lunchroom. And I asked one of the West Speakers, how is it to work here compared to working on the dump site? And she looked at me and she said, it was much better before. It was better before because I had more money, and it was better before because I could be together with my children every day on the dump site, and now they have to go to school every day. And I think that this is poverty. When you look at the world like this, and you don't really manage to look into how you can create a better future even for your children. And that moment had a really big impact on me, and I think on all of us, and was a major part of deciding that we have to be able to do this. We have to work, do what we can in order to create a better world, not only for her, but for the many people in the world who are living under similar conditions and in similar situations. And I think it's great that we have been able to continue this SDG challenge through the years. I also see that we are maturing more, and that maybe in the beginning it was more concepts, ideas, and we are moving closer to actually making real products that will make a real difference for the waste pickers. And I think we always have to keep in mind that this is the ambition of what we do, not to make something that ends up in a shelf, not to make something that looks good in PowerPoint, but to make something that can really make a difference out in the world. So I think that what I see from this week is that I hope are moving into a place where we are maturing some of the ideas so we can take them out, but we also developing new ideas which over the years will mature and come out. And I think this is the perfect circle to be in. So Matthias, you tricked me to come up here because you said, now we are approaching the end. And I thought of the old Churchill quote, that this is not the end. It's not even the beginning of the end, but it might be the end of the beginning. Yes. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, wonderful. And this then was the official tour. So okay, it wasn't at all. It wasn't at all. Okay. Professor Well is fully contemplated, ladies and gentlemen. Any more comments? Any more? So that was yes.
Yeah, this one goes out to all the resilience students I have met. You have made a really big impact on me, and it's been such a pleasure to see you also in private and getting to know you. And I will miss all of you a lot.
Don't miss too much because we're gonna meet each other all the time. So you miss them, but then we're going to solve this a lot of times in the next editions of SDG channel. So no worries about it, no worries. Thank you so much, people. Let's have a great time. This was the wait. We have one more participation. This is how it works here. It's great. So Peter from University of the State of São Paulo. Yeah, great to go, Peter.
Well, thank you all guys for inviting, for making it happen. I thank you all in the name of the São Paulo State University community. I think I had an amazing experience and looking forward to implement this kind of challenges and this kind of changes in Baru's community, in our cities, in our country actually. I hope we can work along with the semester. I'm really interested in, and I hope we can work along in the future. So I really thank you all for making this invitation, making it possible for this hospitality and young professors here. Really thank you to all the students. It's been really, really great. Thank you all.
Yes, now Professor Mello. Also, perfect.
Okay, so it's just two words, okay? Because UNESP is, we are trying to say that we are going to install internal mobility in Brazil, okay? It's a national, we will have this program, but we have to start to have some international mobility, University of Brasília and Oborg University, okay? Our agreement, we have an agreement with being an Oborg that permits it in terms of students, graduate students, and undergraduate students, professors, okay? And if we can try to include people from the University of UNESCO, okay, in this agreement, I think this first maybe we can start something with UNESCO in terms of national mobility. Already had one student that had this in the Federal University of Rio before. One student here stayed 1 week, one semester there for an internship there. So we hope that we can do this for the students, okay? Nationally, to UNESCO, and internationally, to all, okay? So this is what we want to do in our agreement. Thank you, and have a good week, everyone.
So this was it.